You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Welcome, fellow patriots. Get ready for an hour of unabashedly pro-American, pro-conservative, and pro-biblical principles. This is the Blake Johnson Program.
Well, this past week has been a great week for Satan, as his favorite party, the Democrats, have reared their ugly head once again to show just how insane they truly are. Welcome, everyone. This is the Blake Johnson Program on this Monday, September 24th, 2018, in a world that I never ever dreamed of in my most horrible of nightmares. If you are a conservative white male, there has never been a more dangerous time to be speaking, to be breathing, to be living than right now in these modern times. I want to talk to you about several things, but I really want to focus on the Brett Kavanaugh situation. You are more than well aware, I'm sure, of what's been going on. Brett Kavanaugh, the nominee to the U.S. Supreme Court, has been under attack for the past couple of weeks, well, longer than that, ever since he was announced by Trump to be the nominee to replace Justice Anthony Kennedy. He has been under intense scrutiny, and look, there's nothing wrong with scrutiny, but this has turned into a whole new level of freak show, a whole new level of guilty until proven innocent. So here's what happened. About 2 weeks ago, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California came forth with these anonymous allegations, then anonymous, saying that at some unspecified time in some unspecified location, Brett Kavanaugh sexually assaulted a woman. Brett Kavanaugh, around 16, 17 years old, sexually assaulted a 15, 14-year-old girl. And that was about a week after the Kavanaugh confirmation hearings had ended. So the confirmation hearings are over. About 6 days later, Dianne Feinstein, who was in those confirmation hearings the whole time, had this information, by the way, since July, but did nothing with it, didn't even approach Kavanaugh, even privately, to say, hey, I've got some of these allegations. Do you have anything to say about them? Didn't even do that. Just sat on it for about 2 months, 2.5 months, and then decides, let's see, we just got done with the confirmation hearings. I think I'll bring this up now. She brings up these allegations, has no merit to them whatsoever, no corroborating evidence. We don't even know who the person is making these claims. So then about a few days go by, almost a week goes by, and then finally we have a name. Christine Blasey Ford. Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. She claims that somewhere around maybe the 1980s, still don't know the location, still don't know exactly what happened, but around that time, Brett Kavanaugh forced himself on her and tried to assault her, and then she ran away. She didn't file a police report, didn't really tell anyone about it until about 2012, when she told her therapist about it. When she did that, what she claims to be inaccurate, but her therapist in her report said that there were 4 boys in that room with her, including supposedly Kavanaugh. Of course, actually, she didn't name Kavanaugh at the time. She didn't say it was Brett Kavanaugh, because she had suppressed memories, mind you. But there were 4 boys in the room. Well, then she changed her story now. Now it was just two boys in the room. Well, no, actually, no. Over the weekend, the story changed again to now it's 3 boys and 1 girl in the room. Okay. So the story keeps changing literally every single day. Something changes. Something changes. So you have all this going on, and then the Republicans, Chuck Grassley of the Senate Judiciary Committee, the one that's going to, deal with all these things, say, okay, let's have you come in, Blasey Ford, let's have you come in on Monday, meaning today, and testify, because we've got a vote to take place. We've got to vote on Brett Kavanaugh. That's part of the procedure. That's always been part of the procedure. So let's have you come in first thing on Monday and let's hear your case. No, you can't do that. That is bullying Dr. Ford. That is forcing her to come forth before she's even ready. Never mind the fact that it's been 36 to 40 years since that supposed event took place. No, she can't come forward. And how dare you, you old white Republican males, try to force this poor woman to come forth with unsubstantiated allegations against a Supreme Court nominee. How dare you expect her to actually validate her claims? That is uncalled for. Never mind that she's had all this time. Never mind that she has never once brought it to law enforcement. Never mind that she waited to bring it forth to the Washington Post and the United States Senator. That's who she decided would be worth bringing it forward to. Not law enforcement, but a U.S. Senator and a liberal media news outlet. Okay. So Republicans have bent over backwards to try and negotiate with her, which, by the way, is not something the Republicans should be doing anyway. They shouldn't be bending over backwards. They should be subpoenaing her and saying, you're going to appear before us. You don't get to negotiate the conditions of when you can come forth with this level of allegations against maybe a future Supreme Court justice, someone who's about to be voted on. You don't just get to say, well, I will come forward when I want to. No, you will come forward when we tell you to. That's how this process has always worked. Period. So then they're still trying to negotiate the terms, and some of the terms are pretty ridiculous. First off, she wanted Kavanaugh to testify before her. Now, let's look at this from a reasonable perspective. You're the accuser. You are accusing someone of sexually assaulting you. Before you even state your case, you want the accused to testify before the accuser. So we don't even know exactly what happened, where it happened, when it happened, who was there. We don't know any of that. But Brett Kavanaugh is still the one who has to testify first, and she doesn't want to be in the same room with him. So I guess no longer do the accused have the right to face their accuser. I guess we've just abandoned that now. Okay, that's not right. That shouldn't work. And so far, it seems like it's not going to work. The Republicans, as of right now, have negotiated a deal with Ford to come and testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Thursday morning. She's going to testify first, and then Brett Kavanaugh will testify after. After all of these shenanigans, all of this difficulty, finally, she agrees to testify, and to testify the proper way, the fair way. But Democrats aren't content with that. Oh no, Democrats aren't content with that at all. No, they are now going after Brett Kavanaugh's character. The only thing that Kavanaugh has said at all throughout this process is, I categorically and completely deny every single allegation that this lady has made. I didn't even know who was making these claims until the name was put forth by the media. I have no idea who this person is. That's the only thing he said. But the Democrats have already condemned him as guilty. The Democrats in the media, politicians, people that you have elected, have already decided that Brett Kavanaugh is guilty, he is a predator, and he could possibly be a child molester too. Oh yeah, look it up. It's out there. People have made that claim. People sitting in Congress have made that claim. So this is all going on. And Ford is now saying that she's being bullied, she's being harassed, she's being threatened. Her life is in a dizzy. Her life is just so stressful. Well, what did you think was going to happen? With all due respect, what the heck did you think was going to happen when you sat on this, supposedly, for nearly 40 years? You don't file a police report. You don't tell your friends or family. You don't even tell your husband, but you tell your therapist just about 6 years ago. And even in those details, the details are conflicting at best. And you think you can just sit on this and just bring it to a politician, not expect to testify right away? I mean, think about this logically. When this initially came forward, I thought, okay, the timing is very convenient, but let's hear what she has to say. Let's see if there's anything credible here. Let's see if there's anyone that she names that was there, that witnessed it, that she told about it. Let's see if there's any credibility. Okay? Okay, that's reasonable. That's what we would do in every situation. Well, none of that happens. None of that happens. In fact, the complete opposite happens, which I'll talk about in just a second. The complete opposite of all of that happens. So, we're sitting here, we're trying to digest all of this, and Dr. Ford, after all these years, brings it to a politician, a very far left politician, mind you, who just puts it out there, and just kind of throws it out there and leaves it there. And we're sitting here thinking, well, what do we do with that? And then they try to say that the FBI should investigate this. Well, the FBI has no jurisdiction over this. This is a civil case, which means local law enforcement should have been the ones to take care of this. Well, they couldn't because she didn't file a report. And the FBI, even today, said, we have nothing to go on here. We have nothing to go off here, on here. We can't investigate this because there's not enough evidence. There's no evidence. Well, now the Democrats, the same party, the same Democrats who railed against Donald Trump for obstructing what the FBI is trying to do, are now saying that Donald Trump should order the FBI to investigate this anyway. So they only want Trump to obstruct justice when it benefits them. And make no mistake, this is simply about politics. This has nothing to do with justice. This has nothing to do with justice. Any court of law would immediately throw this case out because there's nothing here. Now, let me bring you up to speed on some more recent developments over the weekend. And I love this. So, Dr. Ford named about 4 or 5 witnesses, eyewitnesses, including one lifelong friend of hers, who supposedly knew about all of this information. Now, the eyewitnesses have all stepped forward and categorically denied Dr. Ford's testimony, saying that there was never a party, the event did not take place, and her lifelong friend, I'm trying to find her name real quick, but her lifelong friend, Leland Kaiser, said she denies all knowledge of the events, and she denies even knowing Brett Kavanaugh. She never knew the guy. Never. Let me read to you the letter that was submitted to the Senate Judiciary Committee. Here's the letter. Dear Miss Myler, Miss Leland Kaiser has engaged me in a limited capacity to address your request for information in the email below. Simply put, Miss Kaiser does not know Mr. Kavanaugh, and she has no recollection of ever being at a party or gathering where she was present, with or without Dr. Ford. Miss Kaiser hopes this information is helpful to your investigation. I am available for any further questions you may have. Sincerely, Howard J. Walsh III, whoever that guy is. So, that's amazing. Now, why would a lifelong friend of Dr. Ford submit a letter like that? And by the way, that letter submitted to the committee, if she's lying, she could face prison time for that. She would have broken the law big time if that's false. If it turns out, no, she actually did know Kavanaugh. No, she actually did know about that event. So why would a lifelong friend do that? Now, I find it amazing. This is what the media is reporting. The media is reporting that eyewitness, supposed eyewitness, later then said that she still believes Dr. Ford's testimony. Now, I haven't seen that in the letter. I've not seen that anywhere. I've just heard that reported by the media. And if that's true, that doesn't make any sense at all. Because how can you, on one hand, say none of this ever happened and then say, I believe her anyway? That's her claims. How can you deny her claims and then say you believe them? So that doesn't make any sense. But yes, her eyewitnesses and classmates all deny knowledge of these events. Which should tell you a lot. That's pretty damning for Dr. Ford's testimony. Now, there's been more breaking news over the weekend. And this further undercuts the Ford accusation. This from Kimberly Strassel. A source has given me, I'm quoting, the email that Washington Post reporter Emma Brown sent to Mark Judge, one person Ford claims was at the party. This email is dated Sunday, September 16th, 2018. The email wants a comment from him. The subsequent story would reveal Christine Ford's name and give details of the supposed assault. One part of the email to the judge reads, quote, in addition to Brett Kavanaugh and Mark Judge, whom she called acquaintances she knew from past socializing, she recalls that her friend Leland, last name then was Ingham, now Kaiser, was at the house and a friend of the boys named PJ. This matters for two big reasons, Ford's credibility and the Washington Post. The subsequent Washington Post story would go on to cite Ford's name and details and also list notes from a therapist that Ford told this to in 2012. Read carefully. Now listen carefully what I'm about to read for you. What the Washington Post reports. The same day, it emails the judge. Quote, the notes say 4 boys were involved. A discrepancy Ford says was an error on the therapist's part. Ford said there were 4 boys at the party, but only 2 in the room. And she continues, Kimberly Strassel, wait, say what? Washington Post reports publicly that Ford says it was 4 boys, even after the Washington Post reporter tells Judge that Ford had told her it was 3 boys and a girl. So, here's our first huge problem. This was just a week ago, and we have Ford giving 2 different accounts of who was present. 4 boys. Well, no, 3 boys, 1 girl. Either way, therapist notes from 2012 definitely say 4 boys. Definitively say 4 boys, which Ford didn't dispute. But now, a girl. Here's another problem. The Washington Post reporting. The reporter has for a week had the names of those 4 listed as present. One as a woman, yet it writes a story saying 4 boys. Why? Maybe a mistake, but if so, why did the Washington Post never correct that narrative? You can't find Kaiser? She has lived in the D.C. area a long time. The paper had no trouble tracking down the other 2 men. And why not publish Kaiser's name? It published the other men's names. In its most recent update from last night, the Washington Post writes, before her name became public, Ford told the Post that she did not think Kaiser would remember the party because nothing remarkable happened there, as far as Kaiser was aware. Wow. Before her name became public, Ford told, that is, the Washington Post admitted here that it had the name, and it had Ford's response to what would clearly be a Kaiser denial, but never put it out there. Again, why? Why? This story reeks of falsehoods. It reeks of political assassination. So, now the Democrats suddenly believe in secret evidence. They believe in no official charge or statement, no right to confront the accuser, no right to respond to charges, no counsel for the accused, and guilty until proven innocent. Oh, and by the way, I know this won't matter at all to the left, but Judge Brett Kavanaugh's family has been under severe attack, receiving multiple death threats. They've had to have increased security. Their life has been hell. But I'm sure the Democrats don't care about that because they've got to take down Brett Kavanaugh. They have got to take him down. And this is what the left is known for. Make no mistake. When they went after Clarence Thomas with the Anita Hill accusations, if you watched, I watched Mark Levin's Life, Liberty, and Levin on Fox last night, and he actually shows some of the memos during that time of the confirmation process of, I can't remember the guy's name, but it was under the Bush administration. And they wanted to stop him. He was a Latino going for the D.C. Circuit Court, I believe. And the Democrats were trying to stop him because they didn't want him to become a nominee to the Supreme Court. And the memos even state from these liberals like Dick Durbin and Chuck Schumer and others, Ted Kennedy, that they had to stop him because he's Latino, because he's smart, and because he's clean. His life is clean. They did it with him. They did it with Clarence Thomas. They're doing it now. They're doing it now. And why is that? Why are they doing this to him? Because, you know, if you've listened to this show regularly, that I'm not a fan of Brett Kavanaugh as it relates to his past rulings, his past decisions. I don't think he's going to be a great justice. In fact, I don't want him to because of this story, but in general, I would like him to not be confirmed. Not because of the sexual assault allegations, but just straight up on principle. I don't think he should be in the Supreme Court. He's going to disappoint you. His history on abortion is not good. His history on the Fourth Amendment and the right to not have your property just searched and seized is not good at all. Very questionable on some of his record. But I am obsessed with this story because I can't take it anymore. I cannot take it anymore. The left has gone full bat crap crazy. And if I could use the word, I might in this case. Because it's so infuriating. The Democrats have tried to pull every sort of trick. Every sort of trick. The Republicans have done everything that they can think of to appease this woman and have her come forward without completely 100% bending to her every request, but trying to compromise. And as far as I'm concerned, after weighing all of this, she's a flat-out liar. Dr. Ford is a flat-out liar. She's lying. This did not happen. Brett Kavanaugh did not assault her. Maybe she was assaulted, but it was not by Brett Kavanaugh. Now, there is a conservative guy named Ed Whelan. I barely remember that name. I feel like I've heard that name before. But doesn't he work for National Review? I'm trying to remember exactly where he works. It's for a prominent conservative outlet. Yeah, he's a blogger for the National Review's Bench Memos. And also, at least it said so on his profile, which is interesting. I don't see it anymore. He was the president of the, if I can remember the name right, of the Ethics and Public Policy Center. That's close to the name, but now that's not on his profile anymore, which I can't help but wonder if the reason for that is because so many people have pointed that out, how ironic that is. But he made a claim. He just went on flat out on social media and named a private citizen who he says, well, kind of looks like Brett Kavanaugh in a way. And he posted the address to this guy. He posted pictures of his house, the inside of his house, and said this guy could actually be the one who assaulted Dr. Ford, not Brett Kavanaugh. This guy whose name hasn't even been brought up by anyone else until he brought it up. And he does this on Twitter. And rightly so, people on both the left and the right go after him and say, this is awful, take this tweet down, you should apologize for this. And he eventually did. So, irresponsibility on both sides here. Both sides. But far more on the left. Far more on the left. The left is the party that embraces victimhood mentality. The left is the party that embraces the ends justify the means. Whatever it takes to defeat a conservative, whatever it takes to defeat a constitutionalist. If that's what it takes, then that's what we'll do. This is evil. Complete and total evil. But of course, they don't care. No apologies. No attempt to tone down the rhetoric. No attempt to try to be fair to both sides and give Brett Kavanaugh a chance. I believe she's a senator from Hawaii. Hirono. I brought her name up on this show before. She was asked, I believe it was her, what would it take for Kavanaugh to convince you that he did not do this? And paraphrasing, she basically said that he's already said that he's not guilty, but basically there's nothing that he can say. Because I believe this woman is credible. So nothing. He can't say anything. He's guilty until proven innocent. But he may not be proven innocent in her mind. The Democrats, of course, are all going to vote no. One of my own senators, who I pray she is voted out, Claire McCaskill, said that she's going to vote no. I mean, what is this? What is this? I guarantee you. Let's say, and this could very well happen. I'm just going to say it right here. I know we're going long here, but I am very passionate about this because I don't want to see anyone who's innocent have their whole career ended because of an allegation. But let's say that Brett Kavanaugh is not confirmed, and he may not be confirmed. He may not be confirmed. I didn't believe that a couple of days ago. But this week will decide that, I think. It will at least give a strong indication of what's going to happen. Because I believe, and this is my opinion, I believe that Dr. Ford has been coordinating this for a long time with the Democrats. And maybe she did know Brett Kavanaugh. Maybe she did. But she's on the left. Her lawyer is a known Trump hater, involved in the Resist Trump movement. She specifically picked her to represent her. I think she's been working with the left this whole time to take him down. And again, I don't believe any of her allegations, any of them. And I will be more than happy to take the flak if I'm proven wrong. But I just don't believe her. I think she's a flat-out liar. And a disgrace. Now, I also think that it's possible that she has convinced herself that this did happen. That there's a way, from my understanding, that a therapist can convince you something did happen, if that's what you want to believe. That there is a way, mentally, that you can condition yourself. You have to be the one that wants to do it, to condition yourself to believe that something is true. So maybe she does believe that this happened. I find it unlikely that that's what happened, but it's possible. Regardless, this whole thing is a sham and a show. The Democrats don't care about justice whatsoever. They are just giddy with excitement that they finally found something that may possibly take him down. Him being Kavanaugh. And they're doing it because they are afraid that he might be the vote to overturn Roe v. Wade. I don't think he is at all, but they think he is. Because he was nominated by Donald Trump, and they hate Trump with burning passion. But it's also possible that the Democrats have overplayed their hand. But we shall see. I think they're using this for the midterm elections. They want to label the Republicans as sexist, as those who want to silence people who've been sexually assaulted. They want to take over the House. They want to take over the Senate. And they want to impeach Donald Trump. That is what this is about. Make no mistake. This isn't about justice. I've said it multiple times, and I mean it. This is not about proving whether or not her claims are true. This is not about standing up for women's rights. It's completely political. And that's all this is. I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Lanterns Radio Network. We are the network dedicated to empowering the individual, illuminating the truth, defending American exceptionalism, and inspiring future generations. Stay connected and get involved at lanterns.buzz for great radio. Get commentary and news of the day. Lanterns.buzz.
Okay, so I want to delve into this a little bit more. I'm pretty much done talking about the Kavanaugh situation. I've said as much as I can. Most of it's already been said. But I want to shift a little bit and go off of something I said at the very beginning of this podcast. The Democrat Party, and I'm saying this knowing full well what it means. The Democrat Party is the party of Satan. That doesn't mean that Democrats worship Satan, but it means the tactics they use, the things that they believe, the principles or lack thereof that they have, are the same ones that Satan has. And let me explain. Not even talking about the Kavanaugh situation, but look at what they believe now. The Democrat Party, not every Democrat, but the Democrat Party embraces abortion. They embrace modern day infanticide, murdering unborn children in the womb, and some of them approve of it even outside the womb. The Democrats have embraced full-on totalitarianism. They don't believe in the rule of law as it relates to immigration, as it relates to illegal immigration, as it relates to an illegal alien murdering a U.S. citizen. They don't stand up for those people at all. They stand up for the criminal. They believe in social justice, which is evil, by the way. Social justice meaning they believe that we should take down these people because they go up against our narrative. So in the case of Kavanaugh, we have to take him down because he's a white guy who's oppressing people. He's oppressing women, even though we have nothing to verify that off of. It doesn't matter because we still have to take down the patriarchy. I mean, there's a freaking commenter on MSNBC who said it's not Brett Kavanaugh's job to prove whether he's innocent or guilty. It's what's more important is if he shows empathy for this woman's feelings. So wait, it doesn't matter if what she's saying is true or not. He just has to feel bad for her. They embrace this. The left embraces this. The right does not. Largely, it does not embrace this. The left has infected our schools with their propaganda. They have taken God out of the schools. They have booed God out of their platform 3 times. Remember that? Look it up. At their DNC, what was that? It was over their new platform. They were putting in a new platform. They were voting on it. And they chanted no 3 times to keep God in their platform. They booed him out. They're a party that has infected our entertainment system. You can't even watch modern day television anymore without being infected with their propaganda. If you are a conservative, you're a bigot. If you are a Christian, you're a homophobe and a bigot. You want to oppress people of other religions. You are anti-woman. If you believe that marriage is between a man and a woman, then you are a hater. You hate black people. But if you're black, then you're not really black if you're a conservative because you've abandoned your race. If you are a woman and a conservative, then you're only a conservative because you've been basically beaten into it by men. You've been lied to by men. You can't make up your own mind, obviously, because you're a woman who's identifying as a conservative. So, obviously you didn't choose that on your own. It was forced upon you. They are a party that has embraced Saul Alinsky. They have embraced Darwinism. They have embraced Che. They've embraced socialism. They've embraced all forms of bigotry that they can think of. This is exactly what they are. And I don't care if people get offended about that. I don't care if anyone gets offended by that. That is the truth. That's the truth the way I see it. They're a satanic movement. A satanic party. They have embraced the Me Too movement and hijacked it, quite frankly, and turned it into something that it should never have turned into. The Me Too movement, I think, started out with noble goals. It took down Harvey Weinstein, which it should have. It took down Kevin Spacey, which it should have. It's taken down a number of people, which it should have. People who, the claims against them have actually been verified. But now it's turned into a movement against conservative men, against white men. The Me Too movement has, obviously they're going after Kavanaugh. And they've just been completely radicalized now. If you are a conservative woman who has been assaulted by a Democrat, good luck getting that out there in the Me Too movement. But if you're a left person, if you're a left-wing woman and you've been assaulted by a conservative male, prepare to be famous. Prepare to be famous. And it's disgusting. It's very disgusting. And, I shared a meme the other day on my social sites that got some flack from some friends of mine. Or, well, not really friends of mine, but, Facebook friends are not really friends. They're more like, most of them are just people that you've interacted with at some point in your life. And it basically, the meme, it said, I'm so sorry that man touched you inappropriately. Let's wait 30 or 40 years until he's up against Democrats. And it was clearly referencing Kavanaugh. But it got, a lot of flack because, oh, how dare you? You just hate women. You just don't care about their plight. This is the kind of rhetoric that goes all over the place on social media and now in the halls of Congress. We no longer live in a time where you are innocent until proven guilty. And people like to say, well, that's in a court of law. When it's out in public, we can decide how we want. Well, how did it get to be in a court of law? It was put there by our founders, by the way. How did it get to be in a court of law? It got there because the founders freaking fled from, and their ancestors fled from totalitarian governments that didn't believe in that. That didn't believe in due process. It wasn't just, oh, we'll just put innocent until proven guilty in this particular system, but, we can do lynch mobs everywhere else. No, they put it there because they believed that that is how society should reflect. We should all believe that, whether we're, in the jury or whether we're, in our own private lives. Because if we don't, here's the key. If we don't believe in innocent until proven guilty, people's careers could be ended and they didn't do a darn thing. They don't even have to be brought up in front of court. They can be fired, and they are being fired. You're seeing this happen all over the country. People are losing their jobs, their careers, some of them warranted, but some of them we don't even know if those claims are even true. But they're losing their jobs because of allegations. An allegation is not evidence. It's a claim. You're accusing someone of doing something. That doesn't mean they did it. Okay, we're going to take a break and come back. I've railed against the Democrats quite enough. You get the picture. Now it's time to go after the Republicans, because the Republicans have betrayed you once again. So I want to make something very clear, and I should have done this at the outset, but when I refer to the Democratic Party, the left, the hard left, as the party of Satan, I want you to understand again, that doesn't mean that every Democrat is worshiping Satan. Like I've said, the beliefs that the party is standing for, the things that many of their members are tolerating, are evil. And the fact that very few on the left, and no one on the hard left, is pushing back against this, tells me they've embraced those principles. But this is something that we, especially as Christians, should also keep in mind. Our battle is not against flesh and blood. As Scripture said, it's against the principalities of darkness, which go far deeper than a political party. The political party is merely a reminder of where those principles ultimately come from. So, with that in mind, let's talk about the Republicans for just a second. So, the Republicans, just last week, I believe, they voted on a spending bill. They voted on a spending bill that adds hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars, just almost $1 trillion, to the deficit. This from Conservative Review. See if I can bring it up here. Well, this is actually from August. But I think it's been updated a little bit. It says, when Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell canceled the August recess, there was an expectation that Republicans would use the extra time to confirm a backlog of Trump nominees and to fight for conservative priorities. Instead, the Senate passed an $854 billion spending package that kicked conservative reforms to the side in favor of placating the Democrats and their priorities. Senate leadership combined a $675 billion defense appropriations bill with a bill to fund the Department of Labor, Education, and Health and Human Services, known as a minibus. The $179.3 billion Labor Education HHS components of the package includes a $554 million increase for the Department of Education, a $2.3 billion increase for HHS, and an increase in the National Institutes of Health's records funding to $39.1 billion. These spending levels blow past the request President Donald Trump made in his budget. The bill also fully funds the Office of Refugee Resettlement's Unaccompanied Alien Child Refugee Program without making needed reforms to confirm that those seeking asylum in the U.S. are indeed suffering from legitimate forms of persecution, in addition to continuing funding for Title X family planning programs. And listen to this, which give taxpayer dollars to Planned Parenthood. The Senate claimed it would use the August recess to confirm a backlog of more than... that's... why are you repeating that sentence? That was already in the opening paragraph. As for bills passed, the bottom line is that Republicans worked with Democrats to increase government spending for both military and domestic programs. The Senate irresponsibly increased funding for the Department of Education, Obamacare, welfare programs, and abortion providers, and the $21 trillion national debt continues to grow. The Senate passed this minibus appropriations bill on August 23, 2018, and a roll call vote of 85-7. So, 85 people voted in favor of this. 7 voted against, and the other 7 probably abstained. Obviously, McCain couldn't vote on this one. So, here are some of the senators who voted in favor of this spending bill. And see if any of them happens to be from your state. And these are the Republicans that voted for it. Alexander from Tennessee, Barrasso from Wyoming, Roy Blunt from Missouri, Boozman from Arkansas, Burr from North Carolina, Capito from West Virginia, Cassidy from Louisiana, Collins from Maine, Cotton from Arkansas, the supposed new rising star in the conservative movement, Daines from Montana, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Enzi from Wyoming, Ernst from Iowa, Gardner from Colorado, Graham from South Carolina, Grassley from Iowa, Hatch from Utah, Heller from Nevada, Hoven from North Dakota, Hyde-Smith from Massachusetts, Inhofe from Oklahoma, Isaacson from Georgia, Johnson from Wisconsin, Kennedy from Louisiana, King from Maine, he's an independent, Langford from Oklahoma, McConnell from Kentucky, what a shock. And by the way, if you also live in Missouri, McCaskill, of course, voted for this too. So, yeah, it's nice to see a Republican, Roy Blunt, and a Democrat, Claire McCaskill, find something they agree on. Bigger government spending. Oh, it's so great. It really is. Moran from Kansas, Murkowski from Alaska. These are Republicans, by the way. Perdue from Georgia, Portman from Ohio, Roberts from Kansas, Rounds from South Dakota, Rubio from Florida, Sass from Nebraska, Ben Sass. Huh, that's interesting. Scott from South Carolina, Shelby from Alaska, Sullivan from Arkansas, Thune from South Dakota, Tillis from North Carolina, Wicker from Massachusetts, and Young from Indiana. All of those voted for the $854 billion spending package that, by the way, funds abortion, funds Planned Parenthood. Wonderful. The no's were Crapo from Idaho, Jeff Flake from Arizona, Mike Lee from Utah, Rand Paul from Kentucky, Risch from Idaho, Toomey from Pennsylvania, and interestingly enough, Bernie Sanders from Vermont, who's obviously not a Republican. And those who didn't vote were Corker, Cornyn, Ted Cruz, Fisher, McCain, for obvious reasons, and a couple other Democrats. So this is your new Republican Party. Are you done with them yet? Have you gotten fed up with the lies from both the left and the right? This is why I say our battle is not against a political party. It goes much deeper than that. Much deeper. But the left does embrace these principles, and the right is not fighting against them. At least your representatives, supposedly on the right, in Congress. It really is a testament to how we have got to get back to our founding principles. And it's also a testament to how the whole philosophy, the principle of voting for the lesser of two evils, doesn't really seem to do very much for the cause, does it? Because you've got people like Rubio, Sass, Scott, Blunt, all voting in favor of this. And yet, when the tables are turned, when the Democrats have the majority, they'll claim to be against it. It's another reminder that you have to vote based on principle and not personality. Don't just vote against something, vote for something. And with that, that's going to do it for the Blake Johnson program. We'll see you back here on Monday, hopefully. This is the day before my birthday, but I will still try to be here. I'm going to move out this week, so we'll see what happens with that. Take care, and God bless.